So today we're back at the BBGF, kindly hosted by Mike CGS, and today we have Abby from Secret Swan Guitars. Hello, Abby.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I just found out that you don't actually play guitar, which is
don't,
really
no.
interesting, because these are some of the best playing guitars I've played over the past few days, so
Fabulous.
that must be the secret to making great guitars, is not playing.
So, I'm not a player myself. I play the piano and the flute, but you can't carve them, or at least not in my tiny studio. So this was my way of combining my love of wood and carving and music.
And I really hope that the cameras actually capture the detail of these, and maybe we'll get some closer shots in, because there's a lot of sort of finer details that I didn't realise until sort of up close. And one of them, is this some kind of resin?
Yeah, so it's carved from a single block of wood. So all the carving and the relief is done. It's then painted, and that creates a resin well. So the resin then gets poured in, and from there it gets cut out, and then it gets re-resined around the edge as well.
Because like you were saying, was a common mistake people make is they presume these are just painted. And I did as well, and I got up close and I was like, wow, this is very, very impressive. So tell me about yourself. How long have you been doing this?
So originally I have a science background. I've got my degree in genetics. I went into a pharmaceutical marketing career, and that was all going great, but unfortunately I had a motorbike accident. I couldn't go back to work, and I started just doing little whittling projects. So when I was in recovery, I'd go out walking, but I couldn't go very far, so I would take little knives with me, and it started carving a Celtic knot into a piece of wood, and then spoons, and it turned out I was reasonably good at it, so people would challenge me to do different things. And that went to, train set and a child's rattle, and then I started doing frames, like intricately carved frames. And one day I said to a friend, what I really wanted to do was an electric guitar, but I didn't play, and so I needed a guinea pig. And I was very fortunate that she commissioned me to make a wedding present for her fiance. Yeah, that's how it all started.
So many questions from that. First of all, what was the response like walking around carving something as you're walking around? Because I'm from Hackney in London, and it's not unusual for people to be walking around with knives there, but this is slightly different.
It was in the middle of the woods, so you rarely saw anybody.
Right, okay, yeah, that explains a lot. Cool. And how did it go down, the wedding present? Was it?
He cried, in a good way. So,
can you describe the guitar? What was it like?
Sort of based on a Strat, but completely irregular. So it was a story behind it. It had a North American wolf. It had an eagle feather, and then roses around the bottom, and 2 orchids. But the whole shape of the guitar was around these images, so completely irregular shape.
Yeah.
And it was done in swan pash, so the grain was just beautiful. It was one where I vowed never to do something like that again, because there was over 30 hours of sanding just on the edge of it.
And how did that vow go?
It didn't go well at all. The very next one, I did something even more intricate. Yes, I spend most of my time sanding, but it's a labour of love. I just love creating, so. And
where does the name Secret Swan come from?
So originally I set up the business with my husband, and we didn't quite know what it was going to be about. We were doing some consulting work, and we did a lot of work with charities and motorbikes. So yeah, it was. The swan thing is between my husband and myself, because swans mate for life. Yeah, the secret was because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, well, it's not so secret anymore.
It's not so secret anymore, but yes, the name's followed through, and I liked it, so I kept it.
That's a great name. And there's a bit of a story behind these books as well.
No.
There's a reason for these books.
There is a reason for these books. So each guitar comes with a book, and it shows the whole making process, so photographs along the way of how it's carved, and then just some pretty photos of them staged at the end. So one book goes with the guitar, so you know if anybody says, well, that's not handmade, you can prove it. There is no CNC in this process, and one book stays with me, so it becomes my portfolio of work.
With the neck, do you build your own necks?
So I've started building my own necks. This is one of the original guitars that I built, so this is a bought-in neck. So, you know, not my favourite one, I'm afraid, because I like to colour outside the lines.
Before I forget, let's talk about the stands as well before we go into the guitars.
Okay.
You build these stands as well?
I do. Not wanting to be totally gender stereotypical, but I often find that men want to display a guitar and women want a lamp in the corner.
Yep.
So why not have both?
Makes perfect sense. And you can buy these from me as well?
You can get these from me. I've got some in stock which can be sent out immediately, or I can build them custom. So you can have whatever wood you wanted, you can have whatever finish. They can be engraved. I've got one person talking about having one for 3 guitars, so we can do them at different heights and really make a centerpiece of it in their fireplace.
It's unusual for guitarists to have more than one guitar, of course.
Absolutely. And again, with a lot of wives saying, you can't have any more out. Well,
turn it into a feature and you've got the perfect excuse.
Exactly. And if you're going to have a beautiful guitar, show it off.
Definitely, yeah. There's nothing worse than keeping them encased under the bed or in the wardrobe.
Exactly. They've got to be.
They're
seen.
instruments, but these are definitely pieces of art as well.
They're
They need
art
to be
as
displayed.
well. Yes.
Ooh. So let's go through some sounds. Is this guitar got a name? Do you have a...
It's called the Americana.
Can't imagine why.
Can't imagine why.
Definitely nothing wrong with that, is there? Cool.
It's lovely to hear it being played. As I've said, I don't play, so to hear it actually
doesn't stop me. Let's try out some of the other ones. We did tune these guitars before we started, but there's a constant sort of opening the door, different humidities, and we're in a bit of a nightmare this weekend. But what is this guitar called?
So this is Autumn Leaves. It was based on the jazz song Autumn Leaves. And obviously, I've said before, I love going into the woods and walking, and that was my inspiration for this one.
Definitely see that.
So again, this one is carved from a single block. A lot of people often wonder if they are real leaves, but no, this is all carved and then painted. I've added a little bit of gold and copper leaf into it just to give it a little bit of pop.
How long did that take?
I don't know, and I don't really want to know because I think it would make me cry.
And we haven't even looked at the headstock. Look at that. Wow.
Like I say, I like to colour outside the lines.
Yeah.
It's it makes it interesting.
So these inlays here, did you?
Yes, I made those. I want to show that absolutely anything is possible. If you're crazy enough to dream it, I'm crazy enough to make it.
Just those alone must have taken...
Everything is an experiment for me. I'm new to this. I am teaching myself as I go. This was the first neck I ever made.
As someone who doesn't play guitar, how do you go about sort of deciding which hardware to use?
I get a lot of advice.
Yeah.
The community here is amazing.
Yeah.
I had been using Seymour Duncan pickups, but I have started moving to Mojo because they are, I want everything to be handmade.
Yeah.
I want that real craftsmanship in my guitars. So
when you put that amount of time into something like this, you don't want just like off the shelf kind of pickup, do you?
Exactly. So I'm looking at some bare pickups as well. So I'm hoping to
Yeah,
start
I've heard
working
their
with them.
name sort of mentioned quite a few times this weekend. So
I haven't used them yet, but they're definitely something I want to go towards. And then there's the strings on this one. It's new tone strings, so they're hand wound, and I really want to transition into that totally custom and bespoke guitar. That if you're going to get something, it's got to be unique.
I think so many guitarists buy like guitar after guitar after guitar, always searching for like something, doing little customizations themselves. But I think a lot of people get to the point where they're like, yeah, I'm going to have something made and it's going to be the one. Maybe people should start at an earlier stage instead of wasting so much time with going through. I know you're kind of figuring out what you like, but an important thing as a guitarist is you want to be unique.
Yes.
And something like this is the perfect way.
Absolutely. And so these ones in stock, they are my creations. They've come out of my mind, and they
You
are
know
for
that
sale.
when you're playing a gig, there's going to be nobody else for this
There's
guitar.
going to be nobody else, but I also do complete custom work. So I would love for somebody to come to me with an idea. Maybe it was tattoo related or experience related for them, and we can design from the ground up. So you can have any body shape, you can have any fret number, you can have the neck profile that you want, and we can design it so that it is your guitar. And for me, that's what I really, really love to do.
Well, I can definitely understand that. So this guitar here is called the
Skulls and Roses.
Skulls and Roses.
Again, it's been inspired by tattoos.
So tell us a bit about this guitar.
The body is made from sycamore. Again, it was a solid piece. I decided not to colour outside the lines with this one. And to keep it...
Really?
Well, it's not outside the traditional lines.
I'm having trouble believing you here.
It's not outside the traditional lines of the telly shape.
Yeah.
Keeping the natural wood colour for the Skulls and Roses, but going with a much matter finish. And also showing that it doesn't have to have the resin. You can have it completely 3D.
And it definitely doesn't affect the sort of feel when you're actually playing it either.
No. So this one was a collaboration with the luthier that sets them up for me. He made this neck, but I did the carving on it. Mark Silk is his name.
Cool, let's hear how this one sounds. Oh, so these are the Mojo pickups.
These are the Mojo pickups. Yes.
Bridge and neck.
Yes.
Cool, they sound great. Abby, I want to thank you so much for letting me try out your guitars. I feel weird even saying guitars, pieces of artwork, / guitars. They've been brilliant, they've been set up so well.
Thank you so much, I really appreciate it.
Where can we find out more about you and your guitars?
So I have a website, which is secretswan.co.uk, but my main area is Instagram, the Secret Swan, and yeah, I'm always available, so give me a shout. My phone number's on there, email address, all that sort of stuff.
All the links will be in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Massive thanks to Mike for this weekend, and we'll see you next time.